This is All Things Fitness and Wellness, hosted by Chrissy Van. Together, we're uniting industry thought leaders and fitfluencers on the mission to inspire innovation and encourage people to live a life fit and well. Brought to you by Fitness World. Your fitness, your way. Visit fitnessworld.ca. We all know that running a business can be challenging. How about running two at the same time? Well, that's what our next guest, Nicole Schmitz, is doing after she acquired boutique gym Newport Peach last spring. On this episode, we learn how her entrepreneurial journey went from her being a member of a boutique gym to owning it. Nicole lays it all out, sharing how her diverse life experiences, from embracing holistic nutrition to diving into various entrepreneurial ventures, primed her for the upcoming challenge, aligning her wholeheartedly with the task at hand. She also chats about the vital role community building plays within the walls of her gym, shedding light on how her business pillars actively foster this environment. And of course, she's got some gems of advice for fellow entrepreneurs chasing their dreams. Before we get to the episode, be sure to hit like and subscribe. We have new podcasts weekly featuring industry thought leaders and influencers. Plus, we're continuing our gym and wellness haven tours with inspiring founder stories. I'm your host, Chrissy Van, and this is ATFW. You and I met because when you do a scroll online, there's certainly things that make you halt. And Newport Peach was one of those for me. It had this witty little component about it. It was very on trend. And one thing was very evident very quickly. Community was the name of the game. So I kind of want to know the person behind who is funneling that community in. So tell me a little bit about where your early relationship with fitness and nutrition happened, because not only are you running this gym now, but I understand you're a holistic nutritionist as well.
I became a holistic health coach and nutritionist in 2010. I, like so many people in this field, went through some health struggles myself, chronic issues like allergies and hormone issues, digestive issues. I kind of learned a little bit about natural health when I feel like it started to become popular. I was in college, we'll say somewhere between '03 and 2010, and people started to pay attention to trans fats and high fructose corn syrup and, food becoming medicine. And now it seems very well known, but I don't think it was as well known back then.
Agreed.
I'm still a child of the 90s, and I think a lot of us were, I came from that era of like slim fast shakes and lean cuisines and dieting. And, I know you know what I'm talking about.
I like all of our messaging was that.
Oh,
And
yes.
the worst part, like, love our parents as well. But even the language that parents at the time were using, how many times, like, my mom felt perpetually on a diet. And then you're a
Yes.
child of the 90s.
All
and
of our
also
moms were like
absorbing
that.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. All of our moms went through that. It's definitely a generational thing. There's body images. I think that's evolved. I mean, that's a whole other talk for another day. But I'm really fascinated by that, and I was coming out of that as well. Always trying to pay attention to what I was eating, and I loved the idea of learning more about quality of food versus calorie restriction, which I think a lot of people still don't understand that. Depending on how they were raised or where they live and where they're getting their information from. I went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. That's a year-long program at the time, a virtual program. I remember the founder always used to say, nutrition is a fledgling science. I remember him saying that over and over again. And it is, what we knew 10 or 15 years ago, we know so much more now, but I was totally fascinated. I really loved the idea of holistic health, not just being about what you eat. The idea of wellness being a balance of your sleep quality, your hydration, supplementation. Are you getting out in nature? Do you enjoy your work? Are your relationships healthy? Do you have a spiritual practice? Do you have a meditation practice? Are you finding peace in certain areas of your life? How, all that kind of stress management, it's so much more. And when I dive into working with a client, that's, I definitely want an idea and a picture of what they're eating, but I don't give specific meal plans. I don't just say, cut this out and add this in and there you go. It's okay. Well, when are you eating your food? What time of day are you eating? Are you eating seasonally? Are you eating for your body type, correctly? So I loved all of that. I love learning more about cooking and eating foods that are organic. I learned a lot about reading ingredients, but not just how much fat is in something or how many calories are in something. I don't even pay attention to that now. I don't talk about that with other people. It's all about ingredients. And how many things are you buying that you can make from scratch? What's really at the restaurants that you're eating? What's really in your cleaning products, right? And your personal care products? What are we exposed to, right? I mean, we all know environmental toxins are a huge problem. Hormonal imbalances are a huge problem. The antibiotics in food, hormones that are in our food, right? All that kind of stuff. So super, super eye-opening for me. I was kind of a serial entrepreneur for a little bit. I did a lot of MLMs, multi-level marketing
Right.
things, did some business training.
Just on the MLM, because I know that
Yeah.
obviously a lot of times there's quite a negative blanket connotation sometimes,
Hmm.
but there's undeniably a lot of work that has to go into that hustle.
Sure.
So, what was that experience like for you?
I was a part of a company from age 18 until about 10 years, till about
Wow.
28. And I mostly stopped working with that company because of my location. I moved from the Midwest to California and it no longer worked geographically and the need. I think that that company, I have nothing bad to say about that company whatsoever. It taught me so much of what I know about customer service, sales, organization, everything from how to speak to someone over the phone and cold calling to doing at home demonstrations, keeping inventory. Learned a lot of really hard lessons, but I also grew a thick skin. I mean, when you're in sales, you learn about that really quickly or you don't survive in sales. And I feel like this space, in wellness and beauty, it is a little bit different in LA and Orange County. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of options, right? So,
Definitely. I feel like it's like the epicenter in a large degree.
yeah, so it was just kind of a life evolution. And I had worked at a couple of bigger companies and fitness centers when I was in the Midwest. And then when I came to LA, I discovered boutique fitness. And I worked for two. One I would say is a medium-sized company. You probably have heard of it before. And then one was a small private boutique, little boutique place in Santa Monica that actually is no longer open. But I got to understand management a little bit and sales and community marketing, and I kind of brought all those things together. So that's what's been in my back pocket as I've grown. I started a family. I moved down to Orange County. I was working for myself as a holistic health coach right before COVID, just kind of doing that and being a mom and really kind of understanding what goes into online courses. And I mean, it's a lot, right? To be like an online entrepreneur, it's so much more complicated than it was even 5 years ago. But I was diving into that. COVID happened, some things changed around. I was working out at Newport Peach, and the opportunity presented itself to acquire the business. I've always had a passion for wellness, felt like such a natural acquisition.
Like, I think it's just really neat the fact that this was a place that you walked into for your own needs
Mm-hmm.
and was your own community. And then this opportunity presents and everything inside of you was aligning and being like, yeah, this is the
Yeah.
move.
Yeah. It was not something I was searching for. I've gone through plenty of phases in my life of, okay, what's next? And, like, what am I going to do with my time? I mean, I already had another job. I have kind of a day job that I work from home as well. That's in sales and advertising. And I wasn't looking. And I had a great relationship with the previous owner of Newport Peach. Still love her to pieces. She's my lead teacher now. We had a couple of, interesting conversations, and I was like, sounds like a transition is in your future. What are your plans? And she didn't really have any plans, but just wasn't sure if things were going to be able to stay the way that they were. She had started a family, was running the entire business on her own and teaching classes, managing staff, and that's Nicole Niss. My name's Nicole Schmitz. So if you look up Newport Peach, there's two Nicoles. It gets very confusing sometimes. But she was doing a lot, and I wasn't sure if she was going to be able to continue the way she was or on the path that she was. So I brought it home to my husband and said, Newport Peach may become an option for someone to take it over, in so many words. And I think we need to talk about that. And so I came back to Nicole and presented her with my thoughts and what I would do. And we made a very strong agreement that, I would never change the method or the culture. She technically is still responsible for certifications and for helping keeping our staff on track, helping with any new hires and future certifications. And I'm responsible for all of the business, all the day to day of our brick and mortar, all of the marketing and accounting and everything like that. And because I had that background and I'm a business minded person, I haven't really owned this type of business before, but I've worked in it. It felt so comfortable. Um, Not comfortable where like we're always talking about like getting out of your comfort zone, but it just felt like the right fit.
Yeah, it
And
was everything in you was probably
fully,
like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And I don't know
yes,
why.
yes, yes. The workload was, it's owning a studio is probably takes a little bit more time than I had expected, which
What were
sounds
the
so
parts
naive
that
of me.
surprised? No, I think that's fair. I mean, at the end of the day, you came into this like not fresh faced in the fact that you have this huge resume of experience. So I think it would be very natural to be like, everything I've done up to this point is going to apply to making this a
Right.
success. But it's exactly that where there's those nuances that you don't know until you know. So what were some of those challenges where you're like,
Oh,
this kind of caught me by surprise?
owning a studio, right. Well, and again, this was an acquisition. So, it was like starting over, but not starting over. And I had really great people and pieces to work with. And I have to emphasize that I have a really amazing staff. Systems were already in place, clients were there. But we had to do a lot of tweaking with business practices and pricing. And, we definitely needed to invest in some things um, to kind of give it that refresh. So, but time wise, I don't really have a large staff. So I am responsible for all the communications and marketing and communications with clients. So everything from, which is something I love about us. I love that we're small and we're, you know, I don't know, we're like the cute little studio around the corner. I like that. We're not a chain or a franchise or anything like that. But anything from a phone call of I can't find your studio to my password's not working to I'm totally brand new. Which teacher should I try? Or what kind of classes do you offer? Or I want to upgrade my membership. What do I do? Whatever it is, all those client questions were coming to me. Staff questions were coming to me. In addition to like, okay, we have to we had to do all of the transitionary stuff, right? So we had to transfer the internet and the security system and the lease. And, there's a lot of paperwork and a lot of logins.
I was going to say that it's
Yeah,
like basic steps when you say them, but in actuality, all of those things take time.
absolutely. I mean, we all know what it's like to call the internet company,
Yeah.
or I mean, that doesn't take 5 minutes, right? And then it's like, oh, well, this wasn't transferred over properly this time, or we need to do this. And, we, there was a lot of things that, I feel like the previous owner, she wanted to do, and she just didn't have the capacity to do it. She had a little baby and she was handling all the day-to-day operations. I don't want to like jinx this, but I feel like we're leveling out. We're growing. We're all going in the right direction. We've had amazing feedback from clients. Everyone's really happy. I think that was one of my fears was kind of like, I'm the new sheriff in town. Is everybody going to be okay with this? Like, I'm going to make some changes. And, but the response has been really great. It's a lot at one time, but it's
Are
good
you
now.
still doing the other job in tandem?
I am a little bit. Yep. So I'm
Woo!
a busy lady. I have like, my two computer screens and I'm Newport Peaching and working my other job. It's kind of supporting the investment, you know what I mean, right now. But I don't think it'll be like that forever.
Yeah, fair enough. How do you carve out space for you though? Because between running two jobs and then add in family life on top of that, that's a lot of balls to have in the air at one time.
Well, I thank you for acknowledging that. It's funny. I had posted about that on my personal Instagram a couple of times right at the beginning, and took some pictures of my feet up on the step. Like, oh, just another day at the office. And I'm just so honored and so excited to be a part of something that, like you said, I loved before. I was a client for 5 years and then just stepped into it, so it felt very natural. But anyway, I had said, I might be, I'm struggling to fit in all of my workouts and my meditations, and I'm working a little bit later at night, maybe not getting all my vegetables in, but sometimes we have to make those sacrifices.
Well, and I think you just kind of highlight the most important facet for us is giving ourselves grace when we are in those situations. Because right now you're doing everything that you have to do. And I think sometimes, especially in our world of social media, where we're constantly consuming information, which will give the illusion that people are doing it all and they're doing it all 100% in every bucket. And I think
Yes,
we all know the reality of that. That's just physically and mentally impossible for any human being to be that. And so I think as much as we want to have all those elements, and exactly as you say, like meditation is so important, this component, but not at the cost for your well-being.
sure.
Like it can almost shift in the other direction if we put too much pressure. So I think that that's good
Yeah,
that you're like, this is a phase and a stage that I'm at. And my vision is such that I know that what I'm pouring into this now is going to make all of those
exactly.
steps worth it.
Yes, knowing that it's temporary was really important. I even, we had to have some conversations at home about that. Like, this isn't forever. It's actually, like I said, it's kind of leveled out at this point. My priorities have shifted from I have to fix this and I have to do this and I have to set this up, right? I mean, we all know what it's like to like set up a website. I set up our whole scheduling system. Like, that was a huge thing, but that's only one time, or I mean, hopefully it's only one time. So there's a lot of temporary things that I had to get through, and then preparing for the grand reopening. I'm not an event planner, and there's a lot that goes into planning an event. So there's all this like initial investments of my time and my money, and now it's kind of like, okay, now we're working now. We're just going. We're building memberships, we're growing awareness, versus the initial building part.
Well, and I think that's what's so fascinating chatting with yourself because you are in the heart of it. I mean, 6 months, it's like this young shift in your
Yeah.
very accomplished life, which is really neat to see. And I know that you've referenced many times kind of Newport Peach and the method there. So for those that aren't familiar,
Mhm.
because I entered your doors and had a ton of fun. Your entire concept feels exceptionally relevant, especially when it comes to what I feel boutique fitness represents. So, educate people on what you have going on.
So Newport Peach has been around for 6 years, and we are currently located in Costa Mesa, but originated in Newport Beach. So if anyone hasn't caught on, it's about a butt, right? We're talking about our butts. We're talking about our peaches. We love to tie in anything silly, cheeky, peachy related to body love, positive body image, and celebrating your peach. So we actually don't talk about making it smaller. This isn't about calorie restriction. We don't talk about getting smaller. We don't talk about change or transformation. And that was something that Nicole Schmitz started when she kind of created our culture and created the method. It's in our teacher handbook. That's not what we talk about. We're not talking about earning your meals or burning off whatever you ate yesterday or this morning. This is about like dancing, shaking, sweating, getting stronger, building muscle, and meeting your individual goals. We mostly offer step aerobics, which is also really a fun tie-in. Our energy is it's very bright, it's very colorful, very happy. Our studio is a lot of color, neon lights. What did you call us? The Barbie Dream House of
Oh
fitness
yeah,
studios.
you
We
really
do have
were
a
the
couple
Barbie dream
Barbies.
house of yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I walked
Um,
in, there was like the 90s kid in me was like, okay, I've come home.
exactly. Oh, I love it. It's so fun. Yeah, we definitely celebrate all things leg warmers and roller skates and mixtapes and things like that. But it's still modernized somehow. So we call it modern day step aerobics. This is not exactly what you get when you Google step aerobics or you think back to the VHS tapes that you had from the 90s. We put it to totally current music of all genres. And the Peach method is actually a combination of Pilates inspired moves with step and bar. The first half is step and cardio. It's very simple step. So no, you don't have to memorize anything. We don't really do any like spinning around or anything like that. It's
It's
just
very
about getting your
approachable for everyone coming
very,
in,
yes,
which is that is so necessary in the fitness space right now
yeah,
because you know that I speak a lot to like the physical inactivity crisis. And a lot of times there's environments that can feel so intimidating, especially when
yeah,
it's a class. Like I think of even my own
yes.
mom was like, oh, I can't go to this or I can't go to that because I'm not coordinated. Whereas you really
Mm-hmm.
have set up this environment where you're like, you could be the least coordinated. Who cares if you go left where everyone's
Thank
going
you.
right? There's support.
Yes. Yes, and we can walk you through it, but you don't have to have prior step experience. Our teachers are super fun. Our music is really fun. We have something called a Peach Camp, which is like a boot camp. where it's kettlebells and, mostly strength training. And then we offer some fun classes here and there, like a twerk shop and dance cardio and themed nights. And we have a mom and baby class as well.
Yeah, I love that you really just cater in a method that makes fitness fun, because that's what we need more of, and people to understand it doesn't matter how you decide to move, it's getting movement in. And I think you've really
Yeah.
just found this niche that can spark that in somebody. I'm sure there's a lot of people and clients you have that bring a friend that one day and then they get
Yeah.
this experience and get to be part of a community. And on that note, you were part of this community for 5 years and now you're continuing to watch it grow and nurturing it to flourish. So tell me a little bit about the community that is there at Newport Peach, because I think that's really what boutique fitness ultimately dials down to.
Yes, I agree. I love that about boutique fitness too, because usually people, they do create friendships and have, their workout buddies. Our community it's pretty diverse. It is mostly women, but it's all ages, it's all sizes, it's all shapes. We explain that in our descriptions. I explain that when I meet people and tell them about Newport Peach. I mean, if you want to wear, a $200 outfit that you just got that is from whatever brand that you love, or you want to wear a t-shirt and shorts, like all of that is welcome. I have to be honest, I don't really know how she did it, but I felt that energy when I was a client, and I just was like, oh, I don't really have to worry about this here.
So for yourself, when you reflect on this massive career journey you've had and continue to, because as I say, you're still balancing both sides of the coin here. So what do you see when you kind of envision your future and the future of Newport Peach?
I was thinking by the end of 2024, my hope is that this can be my main focus and my family my focus. So it's just one job sounds great. So
I
so to
was
really
gonna
bring Newport Peach to that position where financially it can, support the growth of the gym, and my family. So this could be the one thing that I'm working with.
I hope that when you get to that day, you can like order a cake or whatever you like and make it almost like your retirement to just one job.
Yeah,
Put a big
exactly.
celebration out there.
Yep.
You have such this entrepreneurial gumption. So what would be some of your top pieces of advice for entrepreneurs out there, especially those that are in kind of the fitness and wellness space?
Well, I was told this a really long time ago. You cannot build a business on your friends and family. So I think it's really important to have support within your friends and family, but don't count on that. Not that anybody in my life is disappointing me in any way, but I think whether you're selling something or you open something, you have to do it for the right reasons, and you have to have something really, really good that people want.
Such a valuable piece of advice, because even I could take it like from the perception of a podcaster, let's say. It's the same thing. Like it would be completely useless to me if my only ears were my friends and family,
Exactly.
because they're not the people that this is necessarily for. And then on top of that, you want to be able to branch out and be relevant to so many. So you cannot cater to them. And at the end of the day, too,
Yeah.
there's sometimes friends and families just don't get it. And you
Absolutely,
have to be okay
especially
with
for
that too.
entrepreneurs. Yes,
Yes.
entrepreneurs are creative and they are risk takers and they're dreamers, right? I mean, a lot of us have very similar personalities that way. It has nothing to do with that person's friends and family, but friends and family in general, they have opinions and they have judgments and they're in their comfort zones. And it's rare for a family of five or an extended family of 20. Every single person's an entrepreneur and a risk taker and super successful and, got their master's or their doctorate. Like everybody does something different, right? So everyone's going to have an opinion. I definitely think it's important to make sure that you don't take that personally, and to stick with it and make sure you have something really good that other people would want. Like you said, I believe that this is a space that's needed, right? An inclusive, fun environment where you're focusing on community, having a good time, friendships, and taking care of yourself, right? That's really what we're about. So yeah, keeping that in mind, have a plan, work your plan. Don't just jump into it, but get some pen and paper out and work your financials, work your timeline, as far as what's going to happen first and next and everything. But take care of yourself too. Let's throw that one. We'll circle back on that, right? Let's make sure that you're prioritizing your health and wellness and your mental health when you're working on this, because you're just going to run yourself into the ground otherwise, and that's not good for anybody.
Yeah. And I think the language around that, it's so refreshing that it's changing, because I think before, especially like not even that long ago, hustle
It
culture
was
was
the
so
hustle.
glorious.
I know.
Yes,
It
everything.
was
And it
all
was
about the
on the
hustle.
pedestal. If you were not, and then what happens? Like everyone either took a pause during COVID, whether by force or because that's just what happened. And then they were
Yeah,
like,
I think you're
oh,
right on that timing.
I can reflect and realize that actually was not
Yep.
serving me. And I can actually be 10 times more productive if I am able to shift that mindset, because I don't think we realize how much energy expenditure is involved when you
Yeah.
are in that hustle mode.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, make sure you're taking care of yourself. Get support too, whether it's staff, whether it's a coach, someone to help you look at your money. I mean, I have support in a lot of different places. Have someone kind of with you, to for like the tough times, and to, go down that journey with you. I think that's important.
Definitely. Well, and especially when you spoke to in that advice before, when it comes to the family element, where maybe they're not necessarily the people, some of them, yes, but
Hmm.
it's important to have, I think, those individuals, whether it's a mentor or just someone
Sure.
that kind of can relate to the journey and experience. Because at the end of the day, that voice in our head, no matter how practiced we are with meditation, it can be the one that challenges us the most.
Hmm.
And I think having someone that's a safe space to be able to have those conversations when we need to have them, so that you
Yeah,
don't get trapped in a loop.
I love that. Yeah, don't drive yourself crazy. We don't want the crazy cycle.
No.
So yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
so appreciate you sharing the story. I think it's just really neat that we kind of crossed paths quite literally when you were putting pen to paper, now half
Yes.
a year down the line. And I really look forward to reconnecting when you have that celebration as like, this is what I'm doing and this whole thing that I'm doing. Before I let
Let's
you
do
go,
it.
Nicole, what's kind of a
Mhm.
lasting note of wisdom, or perhaps a favorite quote or something that you want to leave us with? Fuel our cup a little bit.
I mean, I think you really need to fill your own cup, right? And recognize what you need. Whether that is with your workouts and your health, with your family, with starting a business or your regular work. I think you can't really like count on anybody else to do it for you.
You have such a cool story. And as I say, I walked in your doors and I like, you're nailing the vibe. And I'm so glad that you're keeping it going, but also adding your own touch to it. And I
For
know that
sure.
you'll continue to do so. And I'm sure there will come a time where it's multiple locations and Vancouver.
I hope
Come to
so. Yeah,
Canada.
that's the goal. And I really appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Take care, Nicole. You've just listened to the All Things Fitness and Wellness podcast, hosted by Chrissy Van. This episode was brought to you by Fitness World, your fitness, your way. Be sure to hit like and subscribe. We have new podcast episodes weekly featuring industry insiders and influencers. Together, we're on a mission for everyone to live a life fit and well.